So welcome everybody to the deliberations meeting. This is where you talk about whether or not you want to make reductions to the budget because you do not have the ability to add to the budget. So in our agency analyses, my staff worked tirelessly to look at each agency. We looked not only at the hearing agencies, but we looked at the non-hearing agencies as well. We looked for areas of budget flexibility. The idea there is budget flexibility is not necessarily a bad thing. So we've moved away in our office from identifying lists of recommended reductions to more just sort of explaining what's going on in the budget, because sometimes there are areas of the budget that really we benefit from some flexibility in a budget. And so we're identifying those areas. We've certainly, when we come across something that would be like a double budgeting question, we raise it. In one case, we raised that this year, and we in back and forth with the questions and answers, we came to the understanding that no, there was not a double budgeting situation, and it was just a equipment that sounded similar, but there was some equipment in the operating budget and there was some equipment on an equipment list that's being financed, and it's actually different equipment. So that we were able to clear it up as part of this process. So we've provided the areas of flexibility for you and discussed a lot of that in the hearings. And now we're open for discussion about those areas in case you wanted to explore any of them for possible reduction.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Katz.
Yes, I want to start a discussion about the Department of Education. And I appreciate the report that was done by the audit office on that, their budget. And I think you all know where I worked at one time, and I'm just going to leave it at that. The part that I would like everyone's attention to go to is found on page 8 of the Department of Education report, the very last paragraph, referring to Appendix D. And what, I'll let you all go to that. What Appendix D discusses is the amount of money that the school system saves every year due to people leaving service, retiring from service, going on maternity leave, as I used to do, going on leave to be in the state legislature. You realize when I went in the state legislature, I wasn't paid by the school system anymore, but they brought in a full-time substitute. So the county system actually saved money for those 3 months that I was gone. I'm going to make a statement, and I appreciate not being asked to give examples or anything because I really can't. But this money is very flexible in this account, and there is an in crowd in the Board of Education, and they take care of their own. And all I can say is that this fund is used in situations, for instance, if one of their people has some problems, and by reassigning people, etc. I can't say any more than that. I mean, I just can't go into the details, but I can show you example after example where this money is used to, in essence, preserve the in crowd. Now, I believe that at the time, I'm not even sure the superintendent realized what was going on. But to make long story short, what I'd like to suggest that the council do, and we got to show courage what I'd like the council to do with the education budget, with this particular fund, is to mark a certain amount of the savings to be used to fund the contract, the 3-year contract. Now, we heard yesterday that they're going to need, 30-some million dollars in order to grant the salaries to teachers and other employees that was signed in the 3-year contract. What I'm going to suggest, the state legislature does it all the time, and I see no reason why we can't do it. Basically, to say, put budget language in stating that X number of dollars, whether it be 15, $20 million in this fund, must go to funding the contract, the salary contract. And if it's not, that those funds go back to the general funds of Baltimore County. And that, we, in my 11 years on the council, we've never done anything like that. Nothing. But I think that the teachers have made a good argument. And if we can do anything, I think we need to do something. And this move that I'm suggesting will help to deal with this contract that there's not enough funding to fulfill. So that is my suggestion. I don't recall that this council's ever put any language in the budget. I can't imagine that there's anything that prevents us from putting money in the budget. I don't know of anything that would prevent us from saying, if you don't spend it the way we want you to spend it, then it goes back to the general fund of Baltimore County. So that is what I propose to do. I mean, it's not thinking outside the box, because the legislature does it all the time. It's a budget trick that gives the council more say in how the funds are spent. We can't transfer money between accounts. We can't add. So this is an answer. I suggest, with what the superintendent said yesterday, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they plan to use some of this money in the first place to fund these salaries that are part of the 3-year contract. So I don't know if any comments are all, but I'm going to ask Liz and Tom to draft a budget amendment to do this, and we put it up for a vote. I just think we need to exercise power if we have it. And
Mr. Chair.
so anyhow, that's it.
All right, thank you, Councilman Ketch. Councilman Patoka, then Young, then Jones.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Councilman Catch. I'm in agreement with you. And I don't know if anyone saw this morning, I sent out some language to the council members, and I'm just going to read it. And it's very much in line with what Councilman Catch suggested in his remarks. Give me just 1 second to pull it up. And so here's the language in Bill 2625 on page 27 at line 42, after the amount of $37.041,378, insert the following statement: provided that 15 million of this amount may not be expended until the county council has received by December 31st, 2025, a report containing detailed information related to salaries and wages provided by position, as well as total turnover savings and vacancies experienced by program pertaining to fiscal years 2024 and 2025. This report shall be provided by Baltimore County Public Schools and shall also include projections on salaries, wages, turnover savings, and vacancies for fiscal year 2026. So I put that out as language for discussion. I'm not wedded to that particular language, but I think it's clearly, in terms of the remarks I just heard from Councilman Catch, it's clearly in line with the sentiment of some of the members, myself, Councilman Catch, and I hope that others will join me. But I think it allows for two things to happen. It allows for the appropriation to be made by the date mandated in the charter, but then the school system has to come back and we can be assured by December 31st that we're going to make good on the contracts that we've agreed upon with the 5 unions. So that's my proposal. Hope others will join me in supporting that proposal.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Catch, go ahead.
yeah, Izzy, I guess I don't understand. First of all, what I'm suggesting goes further than what you're doing. Actually, I'm wanting to spot an amount of money and force them to use that money to fund the contract. But what is okay, when the salary increases are to begin this July, according to the contract, correct?
Yes, and Councilman Catch, I'm not wedded to this particular
Okay.
language. I put this up front for discussion to do the very same thing
Right.
you're discussing,
Right.
and that is to attach language and a condition. And this is not the first time the county auditor sent me numerous occasions where conditions were put on appropriations.
You know, what you're asking the Board of Education to do, our audit office has done.
Hmm.
They've done it already. Liz, isn't that correct?
Yes, there's a history of
Right,
conditions.
right. And in
But this
fact,
would also include 26 projection for fiscal 26.
I think you did, didn't you? Projecting using the history as a guide, basically. Other county agencies have done the same thing, but I notice it's being done less and less. This whole strategy was used in the past to create slush funds in certain county agencies. I don't see it anymore in other accounts, but it's here. It's in this Board of Education budget, still there. So Izzy, I'd be glad to join you, but I just want to, let's do it. And then, if they don't follow our, what we want them to do, then let's take the money back and put it in the Baltimore County General Funds. I can assure you that'll get their attention and they'll do it.
I just wonder if we violate MOE, Councilman Catch.
Well, no,
Maintenance of
because
effort,
what is
if
it?
we do that.
I forget what is the amount. Is it 30? I've so many numbers are running around in my head. Is it 33 million cut would it violate the MOE? Is that the number?
I'll have to defer to the auditors.
I don't remember. I don't remember it.
The amount in excess of maintenance of effort in the budget is 33.5 million.
That's a good memory on my part, isn't it? So I don't think it's going to I certainly wouldn't want to do anything to violate the MOE. When I was in the legislature, we used to deal with that problem all the time, and I won't go into it, but the legislature is pretty lax when it comes to the MOE. But this is what I'd like to do. It comes basically from the fact that my wife and I taught for so many years, and it's getting more to be more and more a challenge. And if we're not, as a county, going to stand behind an agreement that was made, that's got to be very discouraging to many teachers and support staff in our school system. And I think that we need to attempt to do as much as we can to fund that contract. I was really heartened by the superintendent talking about that they were going to look for ways to save more funds to use to fund that agreement. And so that's so Izzy, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cash. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. Councilman Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilman Cash, couple things. One, I'm not gonna, you asked not to ask you about examples from the narrative. But then you also said you could give numerous examples. So maybe not here, but help me out and provide them to me after the hearing.
Sure. Oh, I will curl your hair. Is it already curled?
Sure, right.
Sure. Seriously.
What you're talking about is fencing funds off, because you're talking about the state process. Fencing funds off for particular use. Or you're talking about when the budget committees come together with their subcommittee reports, they will set stipulations on the expenditure of funds from the report. So for instance, if the Department of Health has a budget that is funding a particular avenue for $10 million, they will restrict $5 million from that expenditure until we get a report back associated with that particular expenditure. So there's, or you cut funds and you fence those funds off for a specific purpose, like you're talking about. I have to defer, or at least ask counsel, Tom Bostwick, to just clarify what our roles are here, because my understanding is that, and you call it a trick, I got to push, it's not a trick. It's a statutory tool of budgeting for the state to fence funds off. We are allowed to do so at the state level. I am not aware of any language at the local level that allows us to fence funds off for a particular purpose. I don't know, Tom, I'll defer to you related to intent language. I think there's a history of doing so, as was stated before, that Ms. Irwin is completely aware of. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know if there's something wrong with tying a dollar amount to it, but I would say that usually when the state budget committee that you were referring to, giving an example of why we should or how we should do something, which we were obligated, statutory allowed to do, there was usually requests for information prior to those funds being restricted. Like, there were attempts made, and we consistently did not receive the information we needed. So the only tool we had to get information was to restrict those funds for that purpose. I know that there is a situation here. I mean, anybody that's on this council and has been engaging with TABCO knows that there's and this entire budget season, there's a situation when it comes to the agreement that was made with teachers. What I don't see is that this information that we're trying to get, I don't remember asking for it before now. And I'm saying we could ask for this information at any time, and the school system could not provide it. I don't know. I don't believe anybody from this council has asked for the information that we're talking about in terms of restricting funds. I won't speak for TABCO. I'm sure that they've requested in the past, but we just haven't had a conversation with them about it. And now we're talking at this juncture to potentially hold off the expenditure of funds until we get a report back, which maybe they'd provide anyway. I don't know. I also don't know if we have the authority to do that, but I'll pass it to Tom if you could clarify what our legal role is, or what tools we have, if any, in expressing our intent related to the appropriated budget.
Pat, we have the information. Our audit office did the study. We've got it. We've got
Okay.
the information, and we know the patterns of the past. And
Right.
they continue.
Councilman Matoka is asking for, right? We have that. We don't have that information.
We do have it.
Councilman Matoka, do we have that information?
What I'd like to do is have it updated by the mid-year of the new fiscal year, so that we have an updated version, so we can assess we can assess whether those funds, how those funds will be, whether we can allow those funds to be spent. I think it's important for the school system, and I think they're willing to communicate with us.
Right.
I think it's a strong statement made by this council that we support. You know, we could always take uh, a more defined action. I'm all in support of that, but I'm not in support of taking at least a less defined action.
What I
But
don't,
Less than,
I'm sorry.
I just didn't hear that last part, Councilman.
I said I'm not supportive of making a less defined action, but I am supportive of
I see what you're saying.
in a more defined way.
I see what you're saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Councilman Cat. I just wanted to.
I
I just put this language up as a discussion point.
No, I appreciate that, Councilman. I've only seen it for 20 minutes. You've been very clear on being willing to add or maneuver with some delay. I appreciate that. Councilman Cat,
Yeah.
not add.
the thing I don't understand is with this amendment, would you then have the teachers and employees of the school system get these salary increases in July?
That's the goal, Councilman Catch.
Right, but if you're going to have the study in December, that's what
Yeah, I
confused
see what
me.
you're saying.
I don't understand. I mean, we know what's happened in the past. I mean, it's public
But if
record.
we are able to steer that money right now
Right.
to the 5 unions to keep the agreement in place, I'm all for that.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do. Yeah.
So either way, like, I just put language out there to try to
Yeah.
begin the discussion of kind of
Right.
drilling down into how do we keep our end of the bargain on this 3-year agreement?
Right.
Right.
And I think we're all in sync on that.
So,
And I
So-
just
And
didn't,
whatever that mechanism is for that, count me in.
Yeah. we're on the same page. I just didn't understand the December study. And if you
right.
December study, then you're not going to start the salaries.
I'm still misunderstanding what role and authority we actually have. So, Mr. Bostwick, could you enlighten us?
Okay, so the charter, and I'm, this is ad nauseum, but the charter in section 709 says that the county council may decrease or delete any item in the budget, except those required by the public general laws of the state, and accept any provision for debt service on obligations then outstanding for estimated cash deficits. So that's pretty self-explanatory. We can decrease or delete. The county council shall have no power to change the form of the budget as submitted by the county executive. Now, that may be a number of things, but I do think that the county council may add language to an appropriation that require certain things. As alluded to by Councilman Patoka, I think the county council can do what he is suggesting.
I don't disagree with that, Councilman. Mr. Patoka. Sorry, I don't disagree with that, Mr. Bostwick. I think you're right. I think we do have the authority to clearly state our intent, like Mr. Patoka is offering. But my concern is, and I'm, Councilman Katz, this is going back to what we can and can't do. I don't think anything that Tom's mentioned gives us the authority to delineate or identify that money, that if actions aren't taken, that money then goes back to the general fund. I do not believe what he said is.
Yes, I agree. I am concerned with the language that Mr. Katz has suggested. Because we're just hearing it for the first time. Honestly, I'm not prepared to make a definitive statement one way or the other, but that is more concerning because of how it is couched. Because Mr. Patoka's offered amendment is more, if what he has requested does not happen, then it becomes a cut, and it is a cut or a decrease or deletion.
I think that's motivation to keep our part of the bargain with the 5 unions.
And I mean, basically what I just added the part about the money going back to the general fund because I wanted to be, well, as well, I mean, if let's say it's $15 million, I don't know, whatever the number is. If they don't do what your amendment wants them to do, so the school system still keeps the money, correct? It goes into their surplus or into whatever else they want to use it for.
Are you asking me, Councilman Cash?
Huh?
Are you asking me, Councilman? Cash?
Well, I get
So,
making a statement, and
oh,
I
sorry.
agree that maybe
I see your thought. Gotcha.
pushing a little too far to put it back in the general fund, but basically, that's my way of punishing them for not putting that money toward the contract.
But the secretary said, oh, I'm sorry, Councilman.
There's nothing that Tom read that prohibits us from doing what it is that I'm suggesting.
Well, but
That,
as you admitted, except for putting money back in the general fund.
right.
Right, okay. Well then, Councilman Ketch, I know we have not had a conversation about this before now. Those things happen.
Well, let me
You're
just,
you're saying you want to punish the school system for something they've been trying to work with since the very beginning. They asked for the money originally and they didn't get it from the school, from BCPS, and they were getting a less amount from the state. They haven't been sitting here like arguably, trying to, this hurts their teachers. They don't want to take the cut either. I don't think this is a punitive thing. We want information related to how they're making their decision. Is that right, Mr. Patoka, Councilman?
Yes, I would not use the word punish. I would use the word motivate.
Right, okay.
And
fine.
the other thing I would say that if, as the secretary did say, it becomes a cut on December 31st of 2026, I think that's sufficient motivation to keep our end of the bargain with the 5 unions.
So I
But
guess
they'll keep the money though. That's the problem. It would go into their end of year pot of money that they keep.
I don't know if that is the case. I would have to ask the auditor or even Mr. Reed to weigh in on where, if that became a cut, where that money would go, or lack of money. It would be unappropriated money, but I don't know where.
But Mr. Bosco, you're also asking a question that was my follow-up to what you were saying, where I think we have the ability to express our intent in the budget. We put intent language in, we've done it before, it's been shown before. The question I'm trying to get at and an answer to it, and I understand this is the first time it's coming up to you, so you can't make a definitive statement about whether we can restrict the use of a fund in the budget. And then the question remains where it doesn't specifically say that we can't do that. I believe we can, but we're choosing, since it doesn't say we can't, we can't. But if they then don't do what we've asked them to do, and it turns into a cut, they could choose to spend it anyway. I guess I'm trying to think when do we retroactively, because that was what this would be, a retroactive cut to the budget. If actions weren't taken that we requested, would be a retroactive cut, right?
Yes.
So, we have an example of that happening in the past. I mean, we've had examples of language and restricting things, but we haven't had an example of retroactively cutting funding from the budget as it was presented.
We have done it in the past. The county council has done it in the past, where they have conditioned an appropriation on receiving information or on an action being taken or not taken. So what Mr. Patoka's offering is similar to.
Right, but
and I know you know that. Yes.
I don't have an example of them not doing it and then a cut occurred because of a lack of action.
I think it would be a cut.
Right, but we don't have an example of that happening in the past, is what I'm asking.
No, we don't. We don't have an example of that actually happening that I know of in the past. In other words, where compliance with whatever language the council added to the budget appropriation line item, we don't have examples of, I guess, an agency
not
complying, and then what happened to that money?
Is it, Mr. Chairman? I mean, is it? I don't know if does Mr. Reed want to say? I'd be interested in hearing Mr. Reed's take on some of this, if that's okay. I don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mr. Reed?
I'm happy to chime in here. I do, this is a good conversation. I do want to clarify a couple things. Councilman Cash, you mentioned about BCPS fund balance in particular. The BCPS fund balance remains with BCPS. And that is and much like our fund balance remains with us. And we have seen hearty amounts of fund balance left over year after year, which is then rolled into the future or next year as a revenue source. And you're going to have an action in front of the county council in the form of a resolution in June for BCPS to draw on another $35 million in current year fund balance to round out this year. And part of this is a multi-year strategy really on for them to keep operations going and also to move us into FY26. So I think part of what, and to give you some historical context, we in FY20, going back to prior to 21 to 22, 23, they had used about $30 million in fund balance, would have surplus every year that they'd roll into the next year, and that would be revenue. In 23, we had a very large amount. They had about $65 million that would roll in. And last year, 50. Actually, in FY24, 51. This year was we utilized a little under 50 million. So what that does is after we pull down, if you all approve these non-county funds because it's theirs in the form of a resolution to balance out this year, you're left with the balance. But the caveat is that just like anything else, this is potentially we don't want to create ongoing costs with one-time revenue. And this fund balance now is becoming one-time revenue, and as it's dwindling down. So I just want everyone to think through the process of the next 3 fiscal years, this being one of them, rounding out this year, spinning up next year in 26, and then where it's going to leave us in 27. We heard from the superintendent yesterday, the original package was a $60 million package. That was the original number, and I know they're working on different options. So part of what is being discussed, I didn't, it sounds like it, I defer to the attorneys if that's possible, but I think what you're looking at is a cut to BCPS on their fund balance. But I do want to recognize that fund balance is used in future years as a funding mechanism for them. So we just want to be careful with that. I hope that provides some clarity.
Mr. Chairman, I've taken up, no, I appreciate the leniency on the questioning. Director Reed, thanks for the clarification. Tom as well. Not against clarifying or fashioning some sort of intent language. I just haven't had a lot of time to look at what Councilman Toka's presented. So was the intent to vote on this now, or now that it's presented to us, we're talking about it to like come back together and figure this out to approve in the final message? Was that the intent, Mr. Toka? Councilman?
Tom?
I don't, if we're going to vote on it today, I'm all for it. I don't know what the timeline is by the secretary and the chair.
Well, yeah, just like the language that you said, you're open to changes.
Yep, I am.
Yep, I just don't. Are you're going to take changes now and then fashion the message?
I'll go ask the chair and the secretary to sort that out. They're the experts in it.
So we could work on collectively Councilman Toka's language to then include in the final budget without having necessarily vote on it today, while we clarify what the final message from us or intent language would be.
Mr. Secretary, do you want to answer that?
You're muted.
You're
I'm
muted.
sorry, can you repeat that, sir? I'm very sorry.
I was just trying to clarify that with Councilman Toka's submitting the intent language that he's open to for additions or changes, but not to make it weaker. That we can
like I said, no, sorry.
We can figure this out collectively and then vote on it before the budget message. But I'm just saying that I don't on the conversation today, I don't see how we're going to get to a final product here at this pre-budget session. So is that possible to do, or is that in your timeline with the budget message for us?
Well, we are trying to, the reason that we have this deliberation is to signal the council's intent for what it plans to do on next Thursday. But we have a budget message that we are in the middle of trying to get done, and we need to have that done by Monday so that we can have it to the printer. So there are logistics involved, which is why we have this deliberation and hope that things get resolved today, so we have the time to incorporate whatever is done into it. So we need that flexibility. That's
Right.
why we have this today. And I don't mean that in kind of a flip way. I just, that is kind of our reality.
Right, but at the end of the day, as you've said, you need this done so you can fashion an accurate budget message. You're saying that by this piece not being figured out, you can't do that?
This piece not being figured out.
The language that has been presented by Councilman Patoka, by not voting on it today, you say you and your staff can't produce a budget message?
Well, we can't incorporate this part into it.
Well, but unless it's done, we figure it out, and we collectively agree to it before you got to take it to the printer. Is that?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Got it.
But we have to act on it before then, before it goes to print. So there's some level of urgency.
Some level, but I mean, Mr. Bostwick, we are deliberating, and we're going to take a vote. And I know you and I have had this conversation before. We're going to take a vote so that you all are aware of what our intent is, so that you have a budget message ready to go when we present it. But the formal actual vote, the actual vote on what we're doing happens later. This is pro forma. This is preemptive. This is to make sure that you all have the ability to formulate the message, get it printed, so that we have everything we need in time for the message. So I mean, the voting today is. I'm not saying it's not meaningless. It's just that it's not the actual vote. The vote happens when we deliberate on the final budget message. And we've had examples when at that day we've added things to it that just didn't make it in the budget message.
I mean, that is correct in that, you know, your actual formal action does not occur until you vote on the budget and appropriation ordinance bill 2625. And that if there is an amendment to it, that's where the amendment is in that bill, with the language, for example, that Mr. Patoka has offered. But, you know, what is in the budget message obviously signals what your decisions are going to be in that budget and appropriation ordinance. So that's why we try to have things wrapped up today, because you've heard all the information, and now is the time to decide. But I understand what you're saying, and you know, if we were in a position where we have to wait until sometime on Monday for this to be resolved, that's not out of the question. It just makes things more difficult.
Councilman Young, what if we were to do it by COB today? Does that give you enough time to sort it out in your mind?
Yeah, under the circumstances, I'd be willing to. Councilman, that would. It just, like you said, you sent it out earlier today. Got a chance to go over it. You know, you're open to some clarifying things. It sounds like Councilman Katz is also, I don't know, open to some changes. It just, yeah. I mean, and we can collectively understand our intent for the language. I'm not trying to not get it in there. I think it should be in the final version if we're going to go through that. But like, it doesn't. We don't need to rush it. We can get it right and still have it included in the budget method, was the main purpose of the question. And it sounds like we can do that, especially since we've heard weeks of budget discussion about this intent. So, yeah, but yes, close of business at the end.
So the only difference between what I suggested and this amendment from Councilman Patoka is that what happens to the money should they not follow our orders, desires, whatever you're, I mean,
I think Mr. Bob could be a cut.
Mr. Chair, I want to number one, I agree that we should do everything in our power to uh, pay the hardworking people of BCPS the money that they are entitled to. But I have to say that I'm a little concerned, and I like to talk to Director Reed a little bit more, because I just want to make sure that every action has a reaction. And I'm not an expert on BCPS's budget, and I'm not so sure about making some of these uh, conditions on the money. And I know Director Reed was being reasonable when he said we need to be cautious, but I'd like for him to expand on that.
Sure, Councilman, I can.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I haven't seen the language, and the language is the language, and I'm not an attorney. I won't. But what we need to be careful about, and we'll go back to spending affordability committee and the 3 policy guidelines, because I'm a little unclear. I don't want us to get into a situation that we are using certain funding for ongoing costs that are not going to be sustainable. And part of what the committee recommends is that the county maintains sufficient reserves, right? And we're doing that. And BCPS's reserves are lower than they have been in the past, although they do drive up significant reserves that we use to fund in the future. And the committee recommends that the county executive shall not underfund essential budget items in order to fund other initiatives. So I want to, depending on what the plan is, and really kind of outlining what is drawing up that fund balance and what the intent is to move forward in a form of an ongoing cost, we really need to approach with caution. And I think that's, as we look to BCPS's fund balance getting tighter and tighter, because we have increased turnover over the years, and they have decreased teacher positions due to the declining enrollment, that you do want to leave some type of buffer. But and that amount changes over time. But I just think that we need to be extra cautious as we move forward in FY27. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Director Reed, listen, I appreciate that, and I recognize the speak or the language of the director and attorneys and all of that. Is this? I guess you're saying be cautious. It seems to me like we're doing something we've never done before to this extent. And I'm just want to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to jeopardize the long-term health of the system.
Yeah, and I want to. This is it's a multi-year issue, right? I mean, the affordability of whatever is decided, just like we do with our internal partners and multi-year agreements, we have a pot of money to work with, and the pot of money again we're in a different environment than we were 2 years ago, and we really need to stabilize. And like I talked about yesterday in our hearing, with the loss of the AAA rating in Maryland and Baltimore City Water System in DC, we really need to be cautious moving forward. Again, it's the trifecta of fiscal years, how we end up in 25, which we're almost done. And we do have some fiscal maneuvers in front of the council that will be asking for your support, and so will the school system. And part of that is drawing down fund balance to round out this year. That draws down less fund balance for future years. And then again, whatever the deal that is cut with the labor groups and BCPS, ensuring that there's cash available and room in the spending affordability to support that. And that's really what it comes down to in FY26 and beyond. So it's the 3, 25 we're almost done, we'll be okay. 26 we've presented a responsible and sustainable budget. 27 is going to be the main question. So whatever they work out, and this fund balance is a strategy in maintaining an adequate fund balance that we can roll into revenue. But I will say the projections are showing in FY26 that their fund balances, there's going to be very little to roll forward in the 27, which means that does need to be made up somewhere. That's a revenue loss. So I just wanted to put that out there.
The part is, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the superintendent, and they have their own budget analysts and their own folks over there. I guess want to make sure, I mean, we hire people to run the schools, Dr. Rogers, and she has a team. And I just want to make sure we're not undercutting the priorities of the school system, which at the end of the day has to be not just our hardworking teachers and staff, but also the students that we're sworn to educate and take care of. So that's about all I had. Unless you would like to add anything else, Director Reed.
No, I'm fine, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Patoka, go ahead.
Mr. Chair. So what Councilman Catch and I seem to be focused in on, and correct me, Councilman Catch, if I'm not correct on this, but what we're trying to do is define an action that will allow Baltimore County government, Baltimore County Public Schools to keep the agreement that we made with all 5 unions. And so we're actually trying to define an action. And we have to really be firm on this. We can't say, hey, we want to keep our agreement, but we don't want to take any actions to make that happen. To me, that doesn't make sense. It's not, why do we get involved anyhow? So I think for us to really do what, and Mr. Reed, you are correct. The other day, you quoted me, it was paraphrased a little differently. I always say, you articulate public policy through the budget. So if we want to articulate our public policy that we want to support the union, the teachers, the support personnel, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, the principals, and all of the people that make up our employees at the school system, if we want to keep our part of the agreement, then we have to take an action. If we say, hey, we want to keep our agreement, but we really don't want to get involved in any action that supports that effort, then I don't think that's the course that we're not really doing anything, are we? We're just saying, hey, we really support you, the 5 unions, but you're pretty much on your own. And I think we should take an action, as we discussed, to actually implement the discussion that we've had, that we create measures that support the effort to keep the agreement with the 5 unions.
Councilman, can you elaborate on that? Okay, so the language is we're taking an action in order to support, and I don't think anybody here disagrees with trying to support any.
I just
member
heard
of
that
BCPS
we don't want to take any actions.
That is the language.
Did you hear Councilman Jones?
How did you?
Well, to be clear, I mean, I don't think I said I didn't want to take any action. I mean, what I want to make sure I point out is we have a superintendent of schools who's in charge of running the schools. She has an entire budget team, and they made an agreement. The county council did not sign that agreement. The schools made an agreement on those raises, and the schools are opening up contract negotiations with those unions. I'm not sure it's a good idea, and I'm not sure how it's going to affect our students. I understand about the unions, and I support the unions, and I support the teachers, and I support everybody that work there. But I'm also concerned about our students, and I'm not sure it's a good idea for us to put conditions on the money and basically undercut the negotiations that's scheduled to take place. I mean, why would you negotiate if we're standing here saying we're going to give you the money no matter what? So, and I'm not sure what it does for our long-term health of the school system. Now, I'm not against us taking some type of action. I just want to make sure that we're thoughtful and we don't do it in a willy-nilly fashion where we sit here without we have Director Reed here giving us advice and suggestions, and I appreciate that. But we don't have a single representative here from the school system
We just
to
heard
talk about their point of view. We heard from them, but we did not hear from them in this context. We did
Well, let
not
me just say
present
this,
this
Councilman.
course of action in front of them.
If we can't recruit and retain teachers, then our students, our children that are in our school system are going to suffer. They're not going to get a quality education.
Councilman Matoka, we all want to recruit and retain teachers. We all
We
want
have to
the
take
best
actions
teachers
to
we
make
can
that happen.
have. And we have people that we pay to run the school system. I'm just saying they should be a part of the conversation when we start talking about putting conditions on them. We give the school system half of our money, close to $2.6 billion. And I think it's incumbent upon them to be a part of any conversations that we have when we start talking about going in, putting conditions on the funds.
Yes, we are.
Councilman Toga has the floor. I just have a clarifying question. So the language and the request for report, you're saying that you want to take an action to support them and then the agreement that they made. How does this language and how does this report help in that?
It doesn't have to be the exact language. It can be a modification of the language. I
Yes.
think that we were elected to be policymakers, and we should
Right.
act as policymakers. And if we as policymakers feel like we should keep an agreement that the county and the school system has, I know you guys don't agree with this in
No,
the
no.
practical application of it, but in terms of policy, this is the right thing to do.
Well, how does this action help move the ball forward to an agreement? That's what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. We all
Don't modify it. Why don't you, Councilman Young, we have to the end of the day, close the business today, modify the language that you think will make it strong.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm trying to clarify because before it's asking for
Yeah,
support, but
modify
now
the language.
is to support the holding to account the agreement that was made prior to us getting here. So I'm just trying to pick out the language that you presented as you stated in your intent. How does your language do that? I just don't see how.
My language was to start the discussion. You now have until the close of business, as we discussed, to think about it and then to modify it so we can not just say that we support the 5 unions, but that we are taking actions to support the 5.
But what does this? Yes, I'm aware.
Take a look at it, Councilman Young, and work on it.
Actually do that. What is the language you presented? We're having the conversation that you wanted. I'm asking.
We're
you,
going circular now. So just look at it and modify.
And goal. How does it support that?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, please, Councilman Marks.
Thank you. I've kind of been waiting here. All I want to ask is, Mr. Bostwick, you said we've done this before. I've been on this council for 15 years. I know we've had very spirited discussions about the school system. I remember when we were talking about laptops and we wanted condition funding. When have we done this before?
So the last time we did this kind of language, regardless of whether we're talking about the school system line items or other county agencies, the last time I see this was in 2015. In Bill 32-15, the council, you might recall, Mr. Marks, the council put in language in the speed camera program. That was an $8,750,000 appropriation line item. And the council inserted language to say, provided that this program appropriation may be utilized only for the administration of the speed camera program and one-time investments in new equipment and or capital infrastructure for the program. So the council expressed its desire that even though I think it is in the statute that way, you wanted to be more specific about what those law enforcement purposes are. So the council stated that as part of the appropriation. And we've done it before in other years prior to, I think, anyone on this council. I think we did it in 2006. We did it in 2008. We did it in 2005, 2004. I think Liz probably has a few examples as well. So I mean, you have done things like this, mostly at the county agency level, but there was one where we did it in the area of education in the capital budget years ago. But this would be a situation where if BCPS provides you with a report, then the money flows. If they decide not to provide you with a report, the money does not flow. And that is important to realize, because if that money does not flow, that money, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, goes back to the county's general fund.
Okay, thank you very much.
And so that is less money for BCPS, yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman Patoka.
No, that's not me.
Oh, who?
Mr. Chairman.
Crandall, Councilman Crandall, sorry, you're,
that's right. So I just want to be clear on Councilman Patoka's proposal. Does this amount to the way that your language is now, and I did read it, is this amount to a $15 million reduction in their budget
As
that
What-
is then freed up when they provide a report to us?
what I had in my mind, and whatever the mechanism to get it done, is that the appropriation would not be released until this report was submitted and approved by the council.
Okay.
That's what I had.
Okay, so, and if we were to put that into the budget bill, Mr. Secretary, then that would be binding. So the example that you gave of the speed camera revenue, and we put conditions on what we'd like to see that money spent for, or used for, that is binding upon the school system. We have the authority to tell them how to use a particular source of revenue.
Well, we're not telling them how to use a particular source of revenue, Councilman. We are, the council would be making a appropriations decision, a decision if this report, if for whatever reason, BCPS dug in their heels and said, this is our money and we're not gonna take this and we're not gonna play ball with you, then this would essentially be a cut of $15 million to BCPS's budget. And that's it. So they would have, and I'm not commenting that it's a great idea or a bad idea. I'm just saying they would have $15 million less dollars to spend on BCPS.
Okay, so I'm gonna agree with Councilman Jones on this. The superintendent really needs to weigh in on this, because if BCPS isn't willing to play ball on it, I'm worried about. I don't know if we ever got a straight answer on if this eventually becomes a budget reduction. By the time the report is due and we don't like the report or we don't get a report, now that becomes a budget reduction. Are we going to be in violation of MOE? I don't know if we got a clear answer on that.
I'm not the budget guy, but I don't think we would be, because I think we would still be above MOE with Mr. Patoka's. If that cut became a cut, we would still be above MOE, I believe.
Okay, so now my other question goes back and probably directed at Director Reed. So the spending affordability, I want to make sure that we understand the spending and affordability risks in taking this measure moving forward, especially considering that if I'm not mistaken, police are going to be negotiating salaries shortly. We don't know what those numbers are going to be. So, and we're already at pretty much at threshold at spending SAC guidelines. So Director Reed, if you can sort of clarify that concern there with SAC guidelines.
Sure.
And, okay.
I can do that.
I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself, but I think
clear
on what we're discussing here.
Well, it's important. I think that I understand as well. I think it's how what I'm hearing is that, and it's going to be a two-step process. What I'm hearing, the first step, it sounds like that there's going to be a recommendation for language to make a $15 million reduction into the appropriation for BCPS. and that would lapse into the county's fund balance. Now, that would actually put us, as far as the spending affordability guideline, further below the spending affordability guideline by about that amount. What I was discussing was the policy recommendations of the spending affordability committee that talk about not using on one-time costs for ongoing revenues and not underfunding essential operating items to then fund other items. And that's what is put on the executive. So that's the first step, what I'm hearing. Then the second step of the process would be that the executive would have to submit a supplemental appropriation of county funds in the next fiscal year in order then to, release these funds if the requirements are met by the county council. And I don't know what next, we've submitted a budget that would support that where we are, but I don't think there's any plans to do any supplemental appropriations. This is a two-step process. The legislature will make its step, and then the executive next year will have to make a step.
If this proposal goes through.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so, and I guess one final question, going back to Councilman Catch's idea, and this is a question for Mr. Bostwick. So I guess we'll just call it a surplus, or money appropriated to BCPS that they do not use. Can we go back at a later date and legislate that in any given fiscal year or years that BCPS would be able to keep that money in order to fund employee salaries?
I do not believe you can do that.
Okay. Okay, that would have to be done on the state level.
I believe so.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Or pursuant to a conversation between the executive branch and BCPS.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Catch.
thank you very much. First of all, the money that we're talking about is already part of the budget. It's part of the budget. And the savings are coming from vacant positions. So we're not really adding to the budget, taking away. I mean, it's that money's there. If you take a look at the study that our audit office has done year after year of the education budget, you'll see that there's always a hefty balance at the end of the year because you have vacancies, you have long-term substitutes. The system saves money every year. So we're not adding or subtracting to the budget. And, as a council, we have the operating budget of the county. We have the operating budget of the school system. We have the capital budget of both. If we're not going to have any role in how that money is spent, then why are we even doing this? Why are we even doing this? Now, look, I'm not ever supported by the teachers union. I throw away their application. So this has nothing to do with pleasing a union at all. I think that we need to do everything to honor the contract. Now, if you remember when the superintendent was here yesterday, she talked about that the school system was going to go through their budget and look for areas where they could save money and then use those funds to try to satisfy this 3-year contract. I see what Councilman Patoka and I are doing as helping her. You realize that they're going to need in the high 30-some million dollars to fully fund that contract. We're talking about 15 million. Now, our auditors say that the projected savings in vacant positions is going to be about 20 million. So we're not talking about taking the whole 20 million. We're talking about taking 15 million. This is to help the school system to fully fund.
Now, Councilman, I understand, I understand that. I understand that, and I understand this is not a punitive measure.
It's,
but-
well, I mean, if
So
they
how
don't,
is, so, I guess I'll direct this at Councilman Patoka. How does withholding $15 million until December help the superintendent get raises done in July? When I believe she told us yesterday that she was searching through their budget in order to get raises, or at least a step towards the full amount by January. So if we make a budget reduction of 15 million, how does that get BCPS employees raises in July?
So what it does, Councilman Crandall, it's motivational. It's motivational for us as a council to make a statement to motivate the school system to take this, to actually fulfill the agreement.
I think to Councilman Crandall, I think I mean, I have a little concern as well about, we want these increases to go into effect in July.
We do.
Yet we want to study in December. I think maybe we might want to drop that part and just go to, we pick 15 million. And we want that to go to fund this contract. It's helping them to meet this need. I mean, they're going to have to come up with what, 20 more million, or 22 or 23 million more from other areas in their budget. This is not intended to be a cut in any way.
One, I'm sort of, and I'm not being combative or anything with anyone. I'm just trying to understand the thought process that's going on here. I didn't get any sense from Dr. Rogers that there was a lack of motivation.
Right. Well, shouldn't we do our part then?
To fund the raises.
Yeah.
So, so what would, and I guess Mr. Reed has already addressed this, but if we didn't do the reduction and hold the reduction until December, the VCPS has $15 million to work with, and then savings that you had brought up initially when you brought the topic up in the first time you spoke today, and then the administration and county executives can come back to us for a supplemental. Isn't that a simpler solution than putting basically a $15 million reduction on the table when I don't think that they need the motivation? I think that they have every intention of trying to find this money.
Well, the thing is that, look, we as a council, I mean, me personally, and Councilman Patoka, I mean, look, we've been here, you and I have been here a long time. We, year after year after year, see these, I'll call it a slush fund. I guess I shouldn't, but anyhow, we see these funds every year with huge amounts of money in it. This is one of them, year after year after year. And as a council, we support fully funding that contract to the extent, that we can. We're helping by saying, of the surplus in this one fund, let's take, we'd like to see the school system take 15 million and put it toward fulfilling that contract. Now, the truth of the matter is that if the school system can't come up with the other 22, 23, or 24 million, they're going to have to tweak that contract. But you got to admit, with 15 million extra, they're going to get closer to fulfilling that contract. So we're not really cutting anything, because why shouldn't we have a role in this? I mean, I support the contract. I don't know if everybody on the contract in the council supports it or not. I don't know. I do. I know that Councilman Patoka does. And, I'm interested in our school system. I'm interested in making certain that we abide by the promises made. I realize we had no role in this contract, the 3-year contract. I know that. But let's be a courageous council, or a council that stands for something when it comes to budgets. Because all we ever do is sit back, make a few small changes, vote on it, approve it, and we've really had no role in the budget whatsoever. And this move that we're suggesting is going to give the council, we've decided to have a role in this, and to take 15 million that, it's 99.9% sure it's going to be there, to go for this contract. We stand for something, and we're helping the superintendent. And so that's why I'd like to see us do it. As far as that December 1st date goes, or whatever, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that can go away. We really don't need a study. We get the study from our audit office. We get it from them. Look at the report. You'll see it in the report.
Well,
From
I-
previous
I
history.
really think that this discussion, we can't go back in the past, but this discussion should have taken place yesterday while we had Dr. Rogers online with us, and asked her if she feels that this is of assistance to her or not.
I don't see how it could not be assistance to her. I mean, if
Well,
if the council wants to just sit back and let the school system do what they want, that's fine.
Councilman
Can
Ketch, I have a question,
Sure.
and this might be for Councilman Patoka as well. If we did this and the school system, BCPS can't honor the July 1 salary increases for the agreement, what is that? Does that mean the 15 million goes away? They don't ever get it? And
No,
you keep saying it's extra money, that the 15 million's extra. You're cutting 15 million and holding it, and then saying we'll give it back as if it's new money. No one on this council has come up with $15 million worth of cuts of any kind of extra
no,
money.
we're not.
Mr. Chair, can I help you out a little bit?
Sure,
Because we keep
Councilman Chair.
kicking this number around, 15 million. It was my understanding the price tag for those increases are 60 million.
30 some.
So I don't
It's
understand where we can't even get the numbers right. And then 1 minute we're saying it's a punishment, the next minute we're saying it's a motivation. I mean, the reality is we are really getting into some dangerous territory, and nobody wants the teachers and the bus drivers and the support personnel to get that money more than I do. But we must be responsible, and we must make sure that we don't undermine and undercut the people that we are paying who has the expertise to manage the school system. That is not us. And the money is not extra. The money is used time and time again. So we just have to be very careful and make sure we know what we're doing. The superintendent is very supportive of trying to find the money. I just want to make sure that we are supportive and not undermining her and causing any harm to our students.
Mr. Chairman, one more clarification point. There's just two things. Councilman Cass is talking about one funding source. The language from the amendment talking about another funding source. So I'm just trying to clarify here. The language that was sent earlier about the amendment was talking about, my understanding, unless I'm just reading it wrong, the actual money that has been allocated for salaries or from the school budget. But Councilman Katz is talking about cutting from another fund that isn't about the appropriation. It's money that's already there. I just wanted to clarify that point because it seems we're talking about two different funding sources here to potentially cut money from.
Thank you, Councilman Young.
I don't quite, I mean, what I'm talking about is putting conditions on $15 million of the funds that are set aside for salaries.
Yeah.
I mean,
The language from the amendment is specifically in the parentheses, the clarifying was that
well,
that's
yeah, I mean, it needs to be tweaked, absolutely. And look, if you all don't feel comfortable or don't want any role in how county funds are spent in our school system, then fine. I mean, just let them continue to do what they're doing.
it's not what
Have no role in it, that's fine. If that's not my view, but if you want to just say, do what you want, I'm walking away, fine.
If I could just make a suggestion, Mr. Chairman, one, I don't want to cut anybody off, move anyone, but we've been talking about this for about an hour and a half now. We've talked about having a discussion about what language is. We haven't made any decisions yet. You can move on to talk about the things that we have to take a vote on. Your prerogative, but also don't want to cut anybody off without another statement or comment.
I agree, but
I agree as well.
Could I make one final point?
yes, Councilman Patoka.
So we understand, Councilman Jones indicated that 15 million is not the number. I understand that's not the number. I think it's what we're trying to do is offer some leverage. We did hear Dr. Rogers say she's looking for it. We're just offering leverage into this. And, you know, every agency that comes before us, the director is typically an expert in the subject matter of the agency that they've been selected to lead. And so if we just take that as our mode of operation, then we would have no role in the budget because every agency, you know, Chief McCullough knows police better than any of us. Same with Chief Dixon. And so I think it's a given. We understand that every agency head is an expert in the subject matter. I just think that, you know, we should have a role of leverage. We should have a role. Otherwise, why, as Councilman Kutz said, why are we participating in the budget process if we're just going to not have any role whatsoever? I mean, we had a pretty limited role last year, and this year, again, I just think we should offer some leverage into this exercise. And I'll stop there.
And Councilman Patoka, let me respond to that briefly. So
Sure.
I'm still not clear that if we do this amendment, are we asking BCPS to make this agreement by July 1? Or are we saying if they, in good faith, try to help help fulfill the promise on as much as possible on this contract? Are we still, what is?
Yeah, so absolutely, July 1. Let's do it July 1.
So if they can only do December 1, then they don't get the 15 million?
No, the language is out there. We have until the close of business today to kind of mark it up, maybe get Liz and Tom to chime in and figure out something that works that offers, um, offers some leverage, some motivation coming from this council, from this governing body, to the school system. Because we all agree, I think, that we all agree that we should keep our end of the agreement. And so this is an action that offers some leverage from this governing body to ensure that we're able to do the best we can to meet our end of the
And I have a slightly different perspective in
Well,
that.
can I ask you one question? Councilman Katz, you say we're helping Dr. Rogers. Did Dr. Rogers ask for this action?
I didn't hear what you
Did
said.
anybody in the school system?
I didn't hear.
Did anybody in the school system ask us to do this?
Say that again.
Did anyone in the school system, whether it be a budget officer or the superintendent or her liaison, did any of them ask us to do this?
I have no comment as far as that goes.
So-
Remember where I used to work. Basically, look, if we don't want to help them, we don't help them. Walk away. That's what we always do. We let them do whatever they want to do. We walk away. And I think the superintendent is great. I really do. And I can't imagine that she would be disturbed that we found 15 million more dollars. And as far as what
Councilman Ketch, where
We
we
did not
we
find
found
15
15
million
million more.
what's that?
I still don't,
Look
you
at
keep
page
talking about 15 million like
look
it's
at
new
page-
money.
Look at page 8, the last item, where they talk about what is the projected amount of money that's going to be left over at the end of the year that has been left over year after year after year after year. And they're projecting 20 million to be left over. And they do it year after year after year. It's not anything that's unknown. And so the 15 million isn't the full 20. I guess in theory you could take 20, which is the amount they project to be left over. And 15 million is just part of the 20.
Yes, Councilman Jones.
Have another meeting where we bring in the school system again, have Dr. Rogers and her experts stand there and tell us whether or not they think this is a good idea and whether it is in fact helpful or not helpful. I think that would be the appropriate thing to do, and it would be a responsible thing to do. Because right now, we all have our opinions about what's helpful, what's not helpful, what's punitive, what's motivational. Hey, let's talk to the people. They're not far. Let's set up some time. They don't even know we're having this conversation.
Councilman Jones, to your question, did anyone from the school system ask us to do this? I can tell you my office is receiving thousands of emails from teachers and from support personnel to get engaged, to be involved, to not sit on the sidelines on this issue. And so I think that's what we're trying to do.
All right.
I'm not saying we not get involved. I'm saying we do it in a responsible manner and make sure we don't cause more harm than good. That's all I'm saying. Let's talk to the people that are running the school system, the people that we pay to do the job, and hear from them whether or not this is a good idea or not. Because they may say this is a great idea. We never thought of it. Or they may say this is catastrophic. And next year we're going to have to get rid of special education teachers, or God only knows what else. I don't know. But we kicking these numbers around, 15 million, 20 million. My recollection was, in order to fund those raises, it was $60 million.
It was closer to 60 million. That is correct.
They whittled it down to 30-some million. They've already identified funds to use for it. So it's down to high 30s.
All right, Councilman Marks,
That's
did you have something? You have had your hand up. I don't know if it was.
No, it should not be up. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
All right, Miss Irwin, did you want to chime in at all about?
Well, yes, I did. I guess what I don't know the answer to, there's a lot I don't know the answer to, but in terms of what the superintendent said yesterday, where she might have already found some savings, how do we know that she hasn't actually zoned in on these savings that you're talking about? Because I don't have that information. So it's possible that in her number already is in consideration of these this cushion, basically, I think what Mr. Catch is referring to. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that I think it's important to recognize the expertise also of the budget office, our OBF, that has already looked at this budget and has concerns about affordability. And we don't, and I would just say that before we say for sure what is affordable, we should make sure we're on the same page with everybody about that. I can't say what is affordable in terms of the TABCO agreement or any of the agreements that are out there, the multi-year agreements. I just, our analysis points to a cushion that is basically a prudent thing for them to do from their perspective every year, is to put some extra in. But if what you're saying is you can feel free to not worry about putting the cushion in this year, sending that message is a good message. It's also not a bad idea to send the message that we would maybe like some additional reporting. We would like to have more information about vacancies and that sort of thing in a timely manner, so that we can, have all the information that we need in front of us at the time that we need it. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Liz. And my impression from my talks with the superintendent in the last week is that, she is looking at everything and anything, turning over every stone to find a way to at least partially come up with, a decent amount that makes everybody feel like they're valued here. And I kind of feel like if we're not prepared to cut other people's budgets or find some money, that I don't know. I think we're just holding something out there that, may already be worked on. Who's Councilman Patoka? Somebody's got background.
No, I was trying to, Mr.
Oh.
Chair, I know you're right. I've seen, we all, listen, no one likes where we are. Okay? No one likes the fact that we don't have enough money to do everything we want to do. And I know that Dr. Rogers and her team is very motivated to find the funds to do the best she can, the best they can, at the same time balancing the needs of the students, which is what this is all about, the students. So I don't think she needs much more motivation. And I just think before we do anything, that before we make a mistake, that we talk to her and her team and just tell her what we're thinking and see what their response is. That's all.
All
Can I
right.
ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Marks.
Have
please.
either Councilman Patoka or Councilman Catch, have you raised this with the teachers union or any of the other unions? Get their thoughts?
Not the specifics of this, Councilman Marks, but I know I can tell you that we are receiving thousands of thousands of emails from
I agree.
teachers and support personnel and the action is, please do something, councilman. Please do something, councilman. And so I think what Councilman Katch and I are trying to do is we're trying to do something and not just trying to do nothing. And
I spoke,
I agree, and I thank you for exploring this. I just have to wonder if we have any extra time to go into this in more detail.
I have spoken to her in general terms about looking for funds that can be dedicated to this contract. I would be shocked if we come up with the full 60 million. I don't expect that, but I do expect that the bulk of that agreement will be fulfilled. And so it's going to be up to the Board of Education basically as to how, let's say they get 40 of the 60 million, how they're going to then determine when the salary increases start or what the increase is going to be. That's not up to us, but it's up to them. And this is not new money at all. I mean, this is money that's already in the budget. We're not cutting anything. The only time it's cut is if they don't use it toward this contract. I mean, that's what it amounts to. And that's it.
And I'm gonna
Councilman Katz, so you're saying that you don't believe they're going to be able to come up with the full 60 million. If that's the case, based on the language we've been talking about, then they would lose this 15 million.
You're right, it's got to be written in such a way that the 15 million will go toward fulfilling that contract. And whatever comes in from, when the superintendent works on it, whatever the amount of money is, that amount of money is to be used to say that again. I mean, it's how, whether or not it's going to fund the full contract, I don't know. I doubt it, but whatever they.
Mr. Secretary, is there a way to mute others?
I'm trying to mute others, but every time there's somebody who's on, and I'm sorry to interrupt, that has people talking in the background. And so I'm trying to go through and mute everybody except for the person that's talking. So just putting that out there, if you're not talking at the moment, try to make sure that you're muted because there's someone who has background noise.
So I think that I don't know whether or not they're going to come up with the 60 million. They're down to like 38 now. They need to find if we're 15. Basically, we cannot say that unless you get the full amount, you're going to lose the 50 million. We can't do that. But we can also always say that the 15 million should go toward honoring this contract to the extent possible. And then the Board of Education is going to have to decide, if they have 50 million of the 60 they need, what increases are they going to give then? When's it going to start? That kind of thing. So we can't do that. They can.
All right,
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make one final comment. I know we're trying to move on to other business. And just thinking through this, I think withholding 15 million or whatever, I think when someone is in an agency as important as BCPS, and the employees are as important as they are to our young people, and the agency is trying to meet a contractual obligation, withholding money from them only puts them in a worse position. I'm really grappling with trying to understand how of holding what it really amounts to a threat out there, that if you don't do what we say, we're going to reduce your budget. When the whole problem is they don't have enough money to meet their obligations as it is. So I'm going to leave it at that, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely. All right. So we're gonna move on. Does anybody have anything else before we move on?
One last word, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Uh,
Councilman
to
Jones.
Councilman Crandall's point and the point that I've been trying to state, it is interesting, and I thank you, Councilman Crandall, because you mentioned the word school board. We have professionals running the schools, and we have a school board. All of them should be a part of these conversations when we start talking about withholding $15 million or putting some stipulation on 15 million. That's my final word. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, Councilman.
I was off for 2 minutes. We did not vote. What did we decide to do here?
I think we've decided to continue to discuss until there's really no consensus at this point.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sensing, unless my colleagues feel differently. All right. Next, any other thoughts on cuts to any individual items? Councilman Crandall, do you have your hand up?
I do, Mr. Chair. Are we moving on to other business?
I believe so, yes.
Even though we haven't resolved this issue?
Well, I mean, we can always circle back to the school.
Okay,
Well, maybe we should think about all this for a while.
okay, fair enough. So I will move on to other business. I'm going to move that, based on, comments that I made yesterday regarding the golf course, project at Rocky Point Park, I'm gonna move that, we make 2 related reductions totaling the $6.6 million that the county granted to the Revenue Authority for the construction of, a restaurant, event center, whatever you want to call it, at the Rocky Point Golf Course, which is in my district. One of those reductions is, $1 million, to capital project number 210069, which is Revenue Authority Parking Garage. And I believe the language in the budget states and other collaborative initiatives. The second related reduction, to get us to the $6.6 million is $5.6 million reduced from the capital project number 210036, which is a lot larger pot of money, which is new buildings, repair, renovations, and minor additions. This action would reduce the FY26 appropriation by $5.6 million. So it would go from 95 million and change to about a little under $90 million in that fund. And one of the fundamental reasoning behind this is very fundamental. I do not believe that, especially with all of the discussion that we just had about the council taking action on budget and not just standing by and letting things happen, and the fact that there's a contractual obligation that BCPS is trying to reach. We have an issue getting potable water to at least 3 police precincts. We have agencies like DVWT and property management scrambling for funding to take care of aging buildings and infrastructure. I do not believe the taxpayers should be funding a restaurant at a golf course for a quasi public-private agency whose fund balance sits at $21 million, who is contractually obligated since 1997 to contribute money back to Baltimore County out of golf course profits. and they have contributed, the Revenue Authority has contributed $0 back to Baltimore County in all of that time. There are other things that I mentioned yesterday. I can go into more detail as to my problems with this, but the fundamental thing is, why are the taxpayers paying for a restaurant venue at a golf course where the taxpayers will see no return from that other than an amenity at a golf course, which doesn't exist right now? So you have the taxpayers essentially paying for a venue that competes with other local businesses that rely on the golfing community to come and have lunch or dinner at their places of business after playing around at Rocky Point. There's more that I have, but in the interest of time, unless there are questions, I wanted to put those two reductions on the table, and I would hope from my colleagues' support on these reductions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall.
So that is, I guess that is technically a motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion? I'll second the
Yes,
motion.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Discussion.
yes.
Sorry, I was on mute. Question, Councilman Crandall, do you have, I'm just trying to get clarity on what you're trying to do. So it's $1 million reduction of general fund to, you don't have a sheet on this, do you? Or does the budget, or does the secretary or auditor have a sheet on the proposed reductions that we could look at it in front of us?
If you could pull up your, the capital budget analysis from yesterday that our office produced, it's on our website as well.
Okay.
This is the capital debt service analysis, and it's Appendix D.
Okay, just
And it's-
bear with me 1 second so I can take one look at it.
So this one, the $1 million, Councilman Patoka, is on page 13 of the capital budget and debt service package that we received yesterday.
I was going to point to a little bit more of the detail of the funding of the different capital projects that's in the appendix part of the analysis, where you can see it also. If you look to Appendix D.
Appendix D or B?
D as in dog.
Okay.
And if you look at the first blue column, which is at the top, says total general funds appropriation. Total general funds appropriation. So this is the pay-go amount that is being injected into these different projects. The bulk projects are along the side on the left. And so if you go down to it's the fourth one up from the bottom on the first page of Appendix D, you see Revenue Authority capital projects and maintenance. There's this $1 million there of pay-go is going into that. It's the column that is the blue column, the first blue column that says total general funds appropriation.
Okay.
You see the $1 million there. The total appropriation for this project this year, the proposal is for $1 million to this project.
I see.
There is it's $1 million in pay-go funds that is going into that. So this is just the cut to the capital budget that I think Mr. Crandall's referring to, is just saying, no, you do not have the authority to spend $1 million of the pay-go funds out of that Revenue Authority project. And then the 5.6 million would come out of the project that's the first one under general government buildings. Is about halfway up that page. New buildings, repair, renovations, minor additions. You can see that this is a project, the total appropriation for FY26 is 95 million. This is, there's 70.2 million of PAYGO funds that is going into that bulk project. And this is
Yes.
saying you will, instead of having the full 95.1 million, you will have 89,466,864.
Okay.
And we're on page 1 of Appendix D, Councilman. I think you might already be there.
Page 1 of Appendix D, like in dog, right?
D as in
Yes.
dog, yes, sir.
Yep, I'm there. Okay, thank you.
And I can give you the page number also for where these are in the actual capital budget if you want it. But that was just from our analysis.
Gotcha.
Councilman Jones?
Chairman, I was certainly interested yesterday when I heard my colleague, Councilman Crandall, talk about the monies that was going to Rocky Point. And since that time, I reached out to Ken Mills of the Revenue Authority to try to get a handle on what the project was. And as I understand it, it is an event center to enhance the ability of the Rocky Point golf course. And he mentioned the fact that since Martin's East Wind had closed down, that this event center would be available not just to people who are utilizing the golf course, but to any community or community members that want to come there and rent that space. And it is my understanding that these spaces that the Revenue Authority rent are much more reasonable than other commercial venues. So and then I was told that the entire project was like $10 million and that we were putting up a portion as some agreement reads that we would pay half of these improvements. After all, the Revenue Authority, as we all know, they are a quasi-government agency in the sense that they work for us. They're managing our facilities. They're managing our golf courses. They still belong to us in Baltimore County. So I guess my question for you, Councilman Crandall, is I see this as a benefit to your community. I see this as a benefit to your constituents. Do you see it otherwise?
Go ahead, Councilman Crandall.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. I have sort of a mixed answer for you there. Yeah, Martin's may have closed, but there are also numerous other waterfront venues that are privately owned, that are in private business throughout the 7th District. My point is not necessarily to kill the project and not have this event center or restaurant there. I don't see why the Baltimore County taxpayer is paying for it when there is no direct benefit to the Baltimore County taxpayer. Just to have another venue, that doesn't make sense to me, especially when you're considering an agency that is sitting on over $20 million in assets with the capacity to go out and borrow money for other projects. And I'll draw your attention to the First Amendment to the ground lease executed in January of 1997. The language reads, the Revenue Authority shall assume all responsibility for the construction, operation, and maintenance of the golf system with the advice of the Advisory Committee as hereinafter constituted, and such construction, operation, and maintenance shall include but not be limited to the construction, operation, and maintenance of all now existing and future clubhouses located or to be located on the golf course property. So in my mind, the taxpayer funding this, even in part for the revenue authority, is in violation of that amended contract executed in 1997. And then I will also add that, and I said this yesterday, over the past, I'm going to say, and our auditor can maybe give me the exact number, but over the past maybe 6 or so years, $1 million has gone from the county budget to the revenue authority for an item called parking garage maintenance and repairs in District 5, which means our Towson parking garages. And then a couple years ago, the language changed to parking garages in District 5 and other collaborative initiatives. So over the course of these fiscal years, and we've appropriated that money to the Revenue Authority, basically what is an invisible fund has been built, which I believe has about $7.5 million in it right now, that we never knew about. Then the county executes a grant agreement. Well, they're calling it a funding agreement. But the funding agreement, we were never told that Rocky Point was going to cost this much. And the agreement never came before the council. We got no notice of it whatsoever, that the county was giving $6.6 million to the Revenue Authority. We never had an opportunity to vote on that because they were creating, over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, this invisible fund of money that all of a sudden is available for the construction of this restaurant when you have an agency with the financial wherewithal to conduct their own business and build their own project with their own resources.
Councilman Crandall, let me just also add one more thing. I asked the question about their 21 million, and I was told that they have to have a 25% sort of like a rainy day fund based off of their financial structure, whereas when they borrow monies, it is not based off the full faith and credit of Baltimore County. So they have to have their own reserves. And that's why, that cuts into that 21 million. But your point about other venues are well taken.
So, and yes, so they have over $20 million in I guess I'll just call them assets. They also have some debt service. They probably do have a threshold, just like we do, with how much debt they can take on. The thing is, their charge is to manage the golf courses for Baltimore County. They're managing businesses. So if you're managing a business and you can't afford to put a new project on your business, then you can't afford that project. And to me, a brand new venue like this is not so important to the taxpayers of Baltimore County or my district for us to be giving the Revenue Authority $6.6 million to construct it, when they do have the ability to pay for it, either now or later. That's my point.
And Councilman Crandall, if I could add, Councilman Jones, you brought up the Martin's East Wind closed down, and I think that's been several years now at this point. But that was a venue that held, hundreds of people. This is a 30-seat restaurant, I believe. Is that correct? The funding that we were seeing was for a 30-seat restaurant, I believe, with a kitchen.
I was told that this was 185 seat venue that would not be used as a restaurant, but will be used as an event center. And that would be the purpose of it. And again, you know, to get the details, I mean, I spoke to Ken Mills and he answered all my questions, but you know, I hope I'm getting it all right as I'm, you know, relaying it to you. We probably should be talking to him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean,
Liz, Liz,
I can answer, so it may be an event center, and I don't have the information. I got some, just a couple of minutes before our deliberations started today. Geez, I forgot, Madam CAO's office sent over some information based on our discussion yesterday. And it is definitely a grill room and clubhouse. So it is a restaurant. Now, I also want to bring up the fact that years ago, I brought this up yesterday, years ago, the Revenue Authority went before the Liquor Board with an application for beer and wine license. And the local restaurants opposed the Revenue Authority receiving this license, obviously because they didn't want the competition. The Liquor Board granted the license to the Revenue Authority for Rocky Point, and it was said in those Liquor Board hearings to the Liquor Board and to the opposition that the Revenue Authority had no plans to construct a restaurant there, and they only wanted to sell beer on the course. And now here we are with a grill room, restaurant, event center, whatever you want to call it, being proposed at taxpayer expense, after they said that it was never their intention to build one.
Miss Irwin, did you want to clarify what was on that?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think what you were recollecting as the 30 seats was the answer that was originally what the council was told. There was an earmark of this Revenue Authority project several years ago. It was a $500,000 earmark, and it was a very limited scope project at that time that was anticipated, where the county would be responsible for no more than 500,000 and the Revenue Authority would be responsible for matching that. That was described, I think 30 seats was in that description.
Okay.
That's not what is being discussed now.
Good
as
to
far
know.
as- Yeah.
Good to know. Councilman Jones?
I just haven't had an opportunity to put my hand down.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else on this matter? So Councilman Crandall, did you want to re-motion?
I'll motion again for the two cuts, yes.
Okay, and I'll second it.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to call the roll?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I thought.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Ertel,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Marks. So we will, the motion is carried, and we will make sure that the budget bill, the budget ordinance, reflects that motion.
And Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chair, if I might say, I appreciate everyone hearing me out on this, and I do appreciate all the work that our auditor's office has assisted on helping me understand this issue, and I appreciate you all taking the time to understand it as well. And I would also say, just in general, because I think we may be close to wrapping up, aside from the school businesses, it's a tight budget, but I think it's a fair budget. And I think all the agencies represented themselves well throughout the whole process. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Do we have any discussion on any other items, cuts? Has anyone else identified any? No? Okay. What, Mr. Boswick, on the school BCPS issue, as far as the amendment goes, or possible amendments, is where do we go from here?
I think, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, I think it's up to you all, frankly. If Mr. Patoka wishes to make a motion on his amendment, he certainly has the prerogative to do that, as Mr. Crandall did. And there's been obviously a lot of discussion about it, so I don't know if there would be additional discussion or if there would be a second and then you would wish to vote on that. But I think it's up to you all to move that along if you so desire, sir.
So what I'd like to do, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
what I'd like to do is, and I don't know if I have to suspend the rules or whatever to do this, because I'd like to modify the language. And so I'd like to have the language indicate more directly that this council urges the school system to fulfill the agreement, the 3-year agreement, and that this action is taken, and then the proposed action is taken. I'm trying to think of the right language. The proposed action is taken as an effort to
Fulfill.
thank you, Councilman. Councilman Catch, if you want to help me, to fulfill funding necessary, the necessary funding.
Fulfill the 3-year contract or whatever you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Catch.
And it can't be written in, if they aren't able to find the funds to totally fund it, that's okay. I mean, I hope they do, but that's okay. But we don't want to have them lose $15 million because they didn't totally fund the contract. So we just want this 15 million to go toward funding this contract. And that's it. As a county council, as a representative of people and our constituents, and especially our schools, I think it's imperative that we do everything we can to make sure that this contract is funded to the degree that we can fund it. I can't begin to tell you the challenges that teachers have today, that administrators, cafeteria workers, et cetera, bus drivers, that they all have. And we must be in support of them. And as a council, I think it's important that we let all these people know that we support them and believe that the compensation that they were promised, that we're making every effort possible to make sure that it happens. And could you put me as a co-sponsor of the amendment?
Can somebody please read that back?
Well, if I may,
Secretary.
if I may,
Excuse me.
well, I'll defer to Liz. Go ahead, Liz.
Yes, I at this point am a bit unclear as to what $15 million you're talking about.
As am I.
because
we're talking about $15 million out of the salary category for teachers, et cetera, because,
But that is not what Mr. Patoka's amendment initially refers to.
oh, I didn't know. Well, I mean, that's where the money is, correct?
well, there's a cushion of turnover savings. I'm
Right.
using the word cushion just because that's really what it is, that
Sure,
that there's a slight, some cushion there.
sure.
It's
And
not a fund in and of itself.
that's not
Right.
a fund.
Right.
That's the spread out across the different programs within BCPS. Instructional salaries is one of those programs,
Right.
but the thought that so are you actually, you're saying you're conditioning your funding of some of the funding for instructional salaries? That's different from what we had here from Mr. Patoka earlier, which was conditioning $15 million of the administration program funding.
What do you mean administration program?
That was what the language is that Mr.
What-
Patoka sent
What
this morning.
administration program? I don't have the,
It's a line item in the budget. Correct, Ms.
That's that's your appropriate, it's a program within the
Right.
Department of Education budget that is before you. That's an appropriation, that's an actual line in the budget. There is the county general fund amount that is being appropriated to that program. There's an amount for each program
It is
in
the
BCPS.
BCPS administration.
so you're talking about taking $15 million out of the administration?
BCPS administration.
This was the language that Mr. Patoka sent earlier about, it was about reporting. It was about, the condition that he had drafted for that.
So where, with the amendment that, I don't have the amendment, by the way. So where does it occur that $15 million of the surplus, whatever you want to call it, goes to fund this contract? Where is that?
It's in a fiscal 27-6 appropriation.
It's out of the $37 million appropriation to BCPS administration.
Correct.
Mr. Patoka's amendment, as he had offered it, would condition 15 million of that 37 on receipt of a report, a detailed report, as Mr. Patoka indicated, by the end of the year. And I believe Mr. Patoka added to that by saying that the council urges the school system to make an effort to fulfill the 3-year salary agreement. And so it would also express that as part of providing that the 15 million of this amount may not be expended until the council has received the report, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
If I am correct. I'm sorry to speak for you, Mr. Patoka.
No, it's in the spirit of what I was trying to initiate.
I guess what I'm confused about, I would think that the $15 million that of surplus money out of the vacant positions would be with the salary sections of the budget. Wouldn't that be true? Like teacher salary.
But understand, it's not like you can't tell the school system how to spend their money. You can urge them to consider what you find important to consider. You can certainly choose not to fund amounts over maintenance of effort. And in this case, this is an idea to limit the amount over maintenance of effort if a report isn't provided. But it's not really telling them how to use their.
Why can't we tell them we want them to use 15 million toward this fulfilling this contract? Why can't we?
You can tell them you'd like them to do that, but you can't tell them that they must do that in order to get that money.
Why?
And I think that's what we're saying.
But why?
Well, but we're talking about two different things. Mr. Patoka's amendment, as I understand it, does condition that appropriation of 15 of the 37 million on the receipt of a report that details the turnover savings potentially and the vacancy. And what Mr. Catch is saying is just to encourage BCPS to find the money to fund those raises, which those are two different things.
No, what I'm saying is take $15 million out of the budget and basically say that we, the council, we want them to use the $15 million toward fulfilling that contract.
I don't believe we can legally do that, sir.
Why?
Because we cannot legally tell a state agency, BCPS, that we appropriate a block of money to how they have exactly to spend that.
Do we know that for sure, or we just think that that's the law?
Well, that is my advice. You are free to disregard that if you like.
Right. Okay. I'm just in favor of taking, I guess, drastic action to make sure that at least $15 million that's going to be saved in this budget, because this coming year is not going to be any different than past years regarding vacant positions and savings. And, if you look at the study that's been done, it's going to happen. And I guess whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, I would rather go completely ahead with this and tie this money. I don't honestly think that anything that I've seen would prohibit us from doing that. If you think it does, then I'll take your advice and we can go forward. But as a county council, why bother? Why should we even look at anything if we're not going to have any role in it, any say in it? We certainly, as a council, understand the schools in our district. And, I think I know things in the school system that, you remember with Dr. Dance, I was the only member of the council opposed to reappointing him. And also the trouble he got into. Remember, year after year, I had amendments to not fund his computer programs that he was doing. Where do you think I was getting that information?
Oh,
And the council did not pay attention to it. Not some did, some didn't. But so lo and behold, he was prosecuted for the things that he did. And I think I better shut up. But
I think the modified language is in the spirit of what you suggested.
okay. Now
Yeah,
we
Mr.
can't,
yeah.
if they're not able to fully fund the contract, we should not take the 15 million away from them. We just want the 15 million to be part of the strategy to fund this contract.
Councilman Catch,
Yeah,
can I ask a theoretical question?
sure.
Well, first of all, are you saying that every year that this money sits there, that are you saying the school system is banking that somewhere if they don't use it?
Well, it becomes part of the surplus.
Yes.
And
Sir.
yes, it is. It's an unfortunate word for me to use, slush fund, but it can operate as a slush fund. Yes.
Ms. Irwin.
It goes to the BCPS fund balance, and as Mr. Reed said, that fund balance is used as a funding source for the next year's budget. So it's not an appropriation of the county government for the next year. It's in the non-county funds. It's in that special fund piece. It's not an appropriation, it's an authorization. But it's, so this year, for example, when the budget office looked at the budget that was submitted by the Board of Education, they, in their judgment, determined that there's a bit more in that fund balance that's available really to be used as a source of funding. And so when they made adjustments, the county executive adjustments to the budget, they increased reliance on that fund balance a bit. And so they've been through that process of looking at the fund balance, and they've already increased the reliance on that a bit from where the board proposed budget had it. Each year, there's a process here where they look closely at how much is in that fund balance, and then they think about how much they want to put into the budget. But there's been an amount that's carried forward every year and above that. So it's there. It's not, you can't appropriate funds from it. But it is looked at every year, and we look at it when we analyze the budget too.
And the projection you made for this year is that as far as the vacant positions go and that balance, you project it to be 20-point-something million, which is why, we're talking about using 15 of the 20. If you look at the history of vacant positions, you will see that it's a pattern, proof by pattern. And that does exist in mathematics, by the way, proof by pattern.
We have projections that are provided by the school system as far as their salary projection as of a certain point in time. And then we can look at what the percentages are on turnover historically. Every year, though, when they make adjustments, they're actually reducing the number of positions in the budget.
Yeah, right.
And we do not have all of the vacancy data at this time, the teacher vacancy data. At least I did not have that when I was, preparing this analysis. So you could, if you go through the analysis and you turn to page 8 at the bottom, and you see a chart there that shows authorized versus filled positions. And the green is the total authorized positions. And the blue, this is just the top end of the chart. So like you're seeing from the range is 12,600 to 14,800. And you're seeing, if you don't have yours pulled up, this is what it looks like. We have the filled position data through the end of fiscal year 23. We do not have an apples to apples comparison to roll forward for 24, 25, or 26. Obviously, we don't know for 26 how many will be filled yet, but we don't know as far as all the teacher positions exactly where they stand with their filled positions right now. So we can't see that. And this is an important type of information to have when you're looking at turnover, but we can say that turnover tends to run percentage wise such that you would have some cushion. And we can't imagine a situation where there would be a budget where there wouldn't be some cushion. But as I said, the superintendent may have already looked at that cushion and taken that into account in her calculations for what she said. She's already come up with some extra.
So if that's the case, then we basically, she's agreed with us that is.
I don't know if she's taken that into consideration.
Right. Oh, I don't know, but that would be good if she did.
Okay, so do we have an amendment or don't we?
If Mr. Chair, if Mr. Bostwick can read back the modified language, perhaps that would add some clarity.
So I think the modified language would be that let me just get to this. On page 27 of the appropriation bill, the budget and appropriation ordinance bill 2625, on page 7, there is in lines 44 and 45, I'm sorry, in lines 41 and 42 of the bill, of that page, under the Board of Education heading, there is an administration general fund appropriation of $37 million and change. I believe Mr. Patoka's amendment is that it is to state that the council urges, as part of that appropriation, the council urges the BCPS to make any effort, or to make the effort to fulfill the 3-year agreement with teachers,
Not just with teachers.
or with BCPS employees, so that 15 million of this amount may not be expended until the county council has received by December 31, 2025, a report containing detailed information relating to salaries and wages provided by position, as well as total turnover savings and vacancies experienced by program pertaining to fiscal years 24 and 25. This report shall be provided by the BCPS and shall also include projections on salaries, wages, turnover savings, and vacancies for FY 2026.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move forward with that language.
And I'll second it. And I want to be a co-sponsor.
Thank you, Councilman Cash.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilman Jones, go ahead. I thought I was
Yes, that's a,
unmuted.
I guess I have one question. I'm listening to the amendment, and I believe, and I can go with, I'm urging them to do something, because I do want us to find the money for the teachers and the bus drivers and everybody else who works at BCPS. But does that language hold back? Does that language cause any action to happen other than us urging, other than the reports? I'm okay with the reports, but does that language that you mentioned cause us to withhold $15 million if something does not happen?
Well, I would say, Mr. Jones, that in past appropriations, the council has put in similar language. We have not, we have done it usually in such a way that an entire appropriation is conditioned on the council receiving some kind of report or some kind of action, like similar to that. Such as in 2005, a school capital improvement appropriation was 203 million. The council made it 191 million, provided the funds may not be expended until the county received and approved a report detailing the location of a parcel to be purchased and the terms and conditions of the sale and future use. So the council did do that. So the council would be doing something similar.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Secretary, I don't understand what's been amended. It seems like we're back to where we started with, we're not going to let BCPS use $15 million until they give us a report in December. Is that where, are we back to that?
That's my understanding, but I would defer to.
I don't see what has changed.
Yeah, we never left it, Councilman Crandall. We're just adding language, clarifying language of the intent of this, that we are urging the BCPS to fulfill the agreement. So there's been language added to it. Nothing.
Why
I-
don't we say to the extent possible?
Still,
I would be
you're
comfortable with
still
that,
withholding,
Councilman Cash.
you're withholding $15 million if we don't get a report or we don't get a report that we don't like. That's a major sticking point for, I don't think I'm alone on that. I have no problem in the budget message if we, at our strongest urging, that we urge the superintendent and BCPS to meet the contractual obligation.
Do you think they
But
even,
I don't think I don't think how holding $15 million over their head is going to help their situation.
Councilman Crandall,
I don't get that.
I would say this, that, I remember, because I read the budget message last year, and I don't think anything that we urged happen into the future was adhered to from the budget message. It's
And that
a short
should
budget
not-
message, but it was really inconsequential to anything.
should not surprise anybody.
I have
Well,
a,
look, I'm not surprised either, but I mean, we're talking about we're talking about a potential budget reduction for an agency that is scrambling right now to meet a financial obligation. I don't get. I'm just not getting. So I'm just gonna. I thought that we were amending language that maybe we could all come to consensus on, and I don't think that I've heard that yet. Nor, I guess, will I, since there's been a motion and a second.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councilman Crandall. The budget message is where it's probably should be.
well, and the other issue here for, if we're holding the 15 million, or we're using that as a caveat to urge this, are we prepared if BCPS does something drastic like close down schools or do something that, cut special education, something we really don't want to see happen, but they have to in order to obtain the 15 million. And I think they're trying to get there, but that could be a consequence. And I'm not saying that
I can say,
as a
Mr. Chair,
threat, but
Mr. Chair, if they can, it's my belief that if they can address the next 6 months without having and go to a draconian style of management, then the agency's doesn't have the wherewithal to be an agency.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
yes, Councilman Marks.
I have been largely quiet during this discussion and I see both points. Is it unprecedented to have the superintendent join us? It seems like it's a, worthy person to bring into the dialogue. Can we do that?
Mr. Boswick, is that possible? Is there something improper about that?
I mean, I don't think there's anything improper about it. I don't know if Dr. Rogers is on at the moment.
I gotta think she's on.
I think
Or
there's
some-
some budget people.
There
on.
are other
Yeah.
BCPS people on. I know that for sure.
I imagine she has a cell phone number that we all have.
I could
Yeah.
call
I
her.
just
Do you
think
want
that-
to?
that
You want to
it's
send
missing
her a
here.
link?
And I know Mr. Bazemore is on. I know Mr. Tantliff. I know that
Tony B.
Miss Charlie Green is on.
I just think we deserve to hear from her on this.
I think it would be prudent.
That was my point all along.
Calling Dr. Rogers.
like when they reach out for
Chris,
for that
Ms.
and
Bel
they put the
Castro, do we
sign
have a way
on
to,
the
do we have a
side.
way to call the superintendent? If I
I can
text,
certainly reach out to, my mind just went blank, but I can certainly reach out to, Ms. Stifler and, I think that's in her office, Brenda.
Right.
And see if she's available. As Mr. Boswick said, Mildred Charlie Green is on, and so is Mr. Tantliff was on. I don't see him on anymore. And then I can send her a panelist invite. Absolutely. If you want to stand by for a second and I'll reach out.
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir,
since we're doing this, can we take a 5-minute break?
that would be great.
I also spoke with Mr.
Does anyone object? We're not turning off the,
Right.
we're just,
Okay, see you in 5.
Councilman Katz, are you still on?
Yes.
You were correct about the laptops. I
Yeah.
think I supported you with that. I
Yeah.
mean, where we were trying to condition the funding and that did not pass. And I think that was a poor decision not to do that.
You remember
Um,
during the vote, Tabco called and we had the
right.
vote. And then the other
And
thing was the reappointment of the superintendent, which I was the only one that opposed it. Remember, they put my name on a letter supporting his reappointment, and I made them take it off. I mean, I knew what was going on, but I couldn't tell anybody.
I think the laptops, I think that fell along party lines.
I'm pretty sure it
I
did.
think you're right, and it was a shame because I couldn't tell. Look, I'm not allowed to. I can't talk. At the time I couldn't.
I mean, that was 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
So,
it was, and I couldn't talk about it because, well, I just couldn't. But I think this whole thing we're going through is making a mountain out of a molehill. But that's my view. I just feel like we need to show some muscle. I mean, we got to stand for something.
I mean, I know where you're coming from. I mean, we need more auditing power of the school system, right?
Yep.
We
Well,
couldn't
have any-
get that. The legislature blocked that.
Correct.
I've never felt like we have a satisfactory answer on residency. We can't get that addressed. I understand your points.
Councilman,
Yes.
Dr. Rogers will be joining us in about 5 minutes. You know.
Okay.
Good. But the whole thing is
Councilman Batoka's back. Councilman Young here. Let's see, I think Councilman Young left.
He's on somehow he's on the attendee list. I'm gonna elevate him. He's on.
Okay, all right. Dr. Rogers, are you here?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, did we want to ask Dr. Rogers the question about the reserve? Or Dr. Rogers, have you been apprised of what we've been talking about?
I have. I've been listening. I'm away, but I've been listening to the conversation and receiving regular updates.
Do you want to address this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
First, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak on behalf of the school system and address some of the questions and conversations that have been happening. I do appreciate everyone's intent in making sure that as a school system, to the extent possible, that we are honoring the compensation agreement. But I want to just make it extremely clear that is already our commitment. I tried to share yesterday as an update that we are very close to closing that gap. The budget team is running numbers. I have shared repeatedly with Team BCPS, meaning all of our employees, that it's our commitment to fund year 2 of the compensation package to get as close to funding that as possible. I would like to speak to fund balance, and I would like to speak to Councilman Koch's. When I was coming on, I heard some conversation about turnover rates. So yesterday when I presented, I spoke about our turnover rates, really retention numbers with teachers that we had in our system over the last 2 years. I gave you the turnover rates for the last several years, meaning the number of teachers that were separated. I talked about voluntary separations, and those separations are, the people who are choosing to leave the system versus involuntary separations. Currently, our numbers, and I reported on this to the board as well several months ago, our numbers in Baltimore County are higher than the state average. MSDE had put out a report with what the state average was in terms of retention, not in terms of turnover, as well as USDE, their report, but they go back 2 years. It's every 2 years where they do the analysis. And so we are not perfect. However, everything is absolutely moving in the right direction. We also have a certain percentage of our teachers, a very good percentage. Most of the time when you see those administrative appointments at our board meetings, we are promoting from within. And so we have people who are teachers who become school-based administrators, who become central office administrators. So I wanted to respond to that. In terms of the fund balance, so I will share, and I was not sure because I was listening, but I think it was Ms. Irwin who was speaking to this in terms of fund balance, and the school system has a process annually where we look at fund balance and we make a determination about how much money we want to allocate to fund balance as a part of the operating budget to close the gap. That's 100% correct. And specifically for FY26, when we first started this process, we were allocating $18 million of fund balance to help close the budget gap. We were in close conversation with the county executive. The team went back and ran numbers. And then the change, which you have a copy of it as a result of feedback and information we received from the county executive, we increased that use of fund balance, which happens only with the permission of the Board of Education, the county executive, and this council for final approval, from 18 million to 30 million. As I indicated to everyone, it is no secret that I have been working around the clock to try to increase compensation even more than the place marker that we have now. Part of that strategy includes fund balance, but not to the degree of $15 million worth of fund balance. I can share with you that I have spoken directly with our acting chief financial officer, as well as our director of budget and accounting, and they urge strongly against double-digit increases on top of the $30 million that we have allocated for fund balance. They urge that it is not a prudent thing to do. We will, in the year, the projection for next year is that we will have about $35 million worth of fund balance. That is based on all of their numbers, and our ability in the middle of the year. So the last, it's usually in the spring of the year, we bring forward our BAT so that we can make sure that every account is taken care of. Where there's overspending, we're taking care of that. So we just did our BAT this month in May. The funds that are used to special ed is a major area, as well as facilities, whether it's repairs, emergency repairs, maintenance, things of that nature. We're able to use fund balance to do that. And so if we draw down fund balance even more, our ability to come back in the middle of the year to make sure that all of the accounts are taken care of and that we're budgeting to actual expenditures and stay balanced throughout the year, that is greatly compromised, as well as we are all well aware of the fact that we are in a time of unprecedented financial uncertainty. Maryland is a part of a lawsuit fighting to make sure that we keep Title I funds available to our students. We have over $180 million worth of grants. I believe Mr. Sarah shared with everyone 1,200 positions in our system out of our workforce that are funded from grants. If those funds go away, our only source of anything to do to try to mitigate for emergencies is the fund balance. We also know that we had to advocate very strongly at the state level this year, and the blueprint, even though there is a timetable out to 2033, and it is in a trust, that the state legislature is having to work through that budget and make decisions about where to find cost savings to stretch that funding out for the next several years. And so the prudent thing for us to do is to make sure that we have a reserve. It's also important to note that because we knew that there were financial troubles ahead, we put in place a full year central office hiring freeze. And so that yielded some savings that we're able to use to offset some of this shortfall in the budget. The last year before, we had more than $100 million worth of cuts that we brought to the table to help fund our budget. And then this year we were able to bring 26 million. As I've stated, a modest increase of the fund balance is already a part of what I'm looking to do, so we can increase to the extent possible this compensation package for all of our hard deserving Team BCPS members. So with that, I'll pause and take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Councilman Ketch?
Yeah, Dr. Rogers, I guess you realize that we're looking at the vacant positions and the amount of money that's saved every year. And if you take a look at the history of that particular fund balance, I mean, it's consistently high. And our auditor just said that currently we expect to have about 20 million in that fund. Although I think, if I'm quoting you, Liz, I think you said it might be higher than 20 million. So that's the 15 comes from, well, we certainly aren't going to take a chance with 20 million. So we thought, well, 15 million to try to help you in your efforts to bridge the gap so that we can fund as much of that contract as possible. I mean, that's what this is. I mean, we are elected officials for the county. I can't begin to tell you how many people are contacting us about this, you know, parents, etc. And, you know, I want to do something to help the school system fulfill this contract. Now, I want you to, it has nothing to do with labor unions. I mean, I'm not supported by the labor unions, so that it doesn't, you know, I'm doing it because I believe it's the right thing to do. So I don't know, that's where the 15 million comes from. And
Koch, pardon me.
That's fine.
Okay, if I could, so the fund balance that I was talking about, that's the same exact balance. That's the exact funding source that I'm referring to.
Okay,
so,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why I said I really appreciate. I know that this is well-meaning. Everybody wants to fund as much as possible of the compensation package as we can. That's our commitment, because people help us to improve the school system, because ultimately we're here to take care of the student. So I'm 100% there with you. And so what I've tried to explain is the fund balance is that pot of money. The team is projecting $30 million. So Ms. Irwin is correct that it might be more than 20 million. And then I shared with you that the way that I'm trying to close the gap, we started with $18 million for FY26. We moved up to 30 million of the fund balance for FY36. I am planning to request an additional modest increase, but not to the tune of $15 million. And then I shared the reasons why the team has advocated strongly against using the funds in that way. And so that's the clarifying point that I wanted to make, that we weren't talking about two different sources of money. The source of money that all of us are speaking about is the fund balance, and wanted to make sure that there was understanding about how much we've already planned to use for the fund balance. Already there's an eye towards increasing that, but to the amount of $15 million just puts us in a precarious position. Special education, which I heard when I was listening, was something that was raised here. Baltimore County Public Schools historically, for at least the last 20 years, I believe was the number given to me, always includes in the BAT an increase for special education, because you can't, as much as you try to balance it budget for it, there are always unanticipated changes. The legislature just last year passed a bill where non-public schools achieve parity in teacher pay with public schools, so that immediately increased the cost that school systems were contributing for non-public. There's also the major shortage of related service providers, as well as other costs associated with special education that we are this year in the budget, the FY26 budget that was put forward, budgets us to actuals. It doesn't automatically assume that there will always be a large pot of money available to do that. And even with that, there's a level of uncertainty because you're talking about changing needs and changing regulations regarding those needs for our students. And so I appreciate, as I said at the beginning, I really appreciate the robust conversation of how do we support staff members. And I want to assure everyone that that's absolutely my role and my responsibility, because I am there to make sure that we're taking care of the students, and we can't do that without having the people to do that. And so my commitment is not only to you, but I've made it to Team BCPS in writing several times, giving them updates. Budget team is running numbers. I do know that Saturday we received a request from the county with different reports. Everyone moved as quickly as possible to provide what was necessary. But there was a change, a difference in the number of position reductions that are ongoing based on the county executive's budget that was put forward. And so, Ms. Irwin, I am sure that as soon as the team has the most up-to-date information, there is no issue with us sending that report forward. But we are actively engaged in making the changes that are necessary. There are positions posted on our website. I've spoken to the process and things of that nature, but I just wanted to make sure that I communicated that message to everyone on this call.
Just a quick question. Are you prepared to tell us what amount out of that fund you would feel comfortable in using to try to honor the contract?
So it's not that I don't feel comfortable. I've had small group meetings with the Board of Education members, because I think, respectfully, I have to share information with them. I have given them a dollar amount. I can tell you that it is much less than 15. It is not in the double digits. It's following the advice of our budget team, but I put that together with the 3.7 million, which I've shared that we received in additional state funding, and then making the other necessary changes that we need to make to close that gap. That's what we're doing right now. The budget team is running numbers. As they receive more things, they cost it out so they can tell me what is left of the gap. That is exactly where we are. My expectation is no later than early next week that I would have final numbers for Team BCPS and of course all of our partners, including the council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Any other questions for Dr. Rogers? Councilman Patoka?
Yes,
Mr. Chair. Okay.
Oh, and Councilman Jones, I'm
I
sorry.
think Councilman Jones was
I'll
actually,
get you.
so I'll yield to Councilman Jones.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman Jones, and then.
Thank you, Councilman Patokan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank you so much, Dr. Rogers, for coming on the call and making yourself available. We certainly appreciate it very much because clearly you have a command of the budget and the graphs that goes beyond what we know here on this call, as you should, because you're the one that we are paying to manage the schools, and you're doing an excellent job. I want to just think about something I said yesterday. You brought it up today when we were talking about these unprecedented times and these perilous times that we're in, and we're facing these reckless budget cuts coming from DC, and we're looking at these grants starting with Title I and II and III, and all of these things as being litigated as we speak. And I said yesterday that I wanted Al County Attorney and Al County to join the Attorney General in fighting to protect the jobs of the people that we have working here in BCPS each and every day. And it just reminded me how important it is that we not do anything that put ourselves in a very bad financial position and then end up making the students and additional staff suffer. Because if we get rid of our cushion and things don't go the way we want them to go, I would hope that we would have some funds where we can save some of the employees and not have to let all of them go because the federal government is successful in cutting the funding. But I guess wanted to thank you so much for making your time available at this short notice and providing a certain level of expertise to this conversation, which is very much needed. We all want nothing but the very best for our hardworking employees. As you said, we have to take care of our kids, and the only way we do that is through the hard work and efforts of everybody who works for Team BCPS, as well as us here. So again, thank you so much for coming on the call and providing some expertise, which is much needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Councilman Patoka, I think you had a
Thank you,
comment.
Chair.
Question.
Dr. Rogers, thank you for joining us on short notice. Just a quick question. If on July 1, there was $15 million less than is currently in the request, and that were released on January 1 of 2026, could BCPS manage that fiscally?
So, I mean, the team would have to do a deep analysis, but what I can share with you that I shared yesterday is Baltimore County Public Schools is in no position to accept, or not to accept, to be able to close the gap with additional cuts in funding. The work that we're doing is so tedious down to every single sentence, every single cent, that we are not in a position where we can afford to absorb a $15 million cut and hope that it will come back in January. If we were to have a $15 million cut in July 1, we would have to do the prudent things that were necessary to address the $15 million cut, because it would be irresponsible of me to move forward with the same level of workforce or supports and services to students, hoping that we would get that money back. Because if the money does not return in January, then there would be nowhere for me to go to address that funding gap. And so my requirement would be before July 1 to address any and all cuts that we receive, which is, when we're looking at the county executive's proposed budget, the proposed budget is different than the request. And as I shared, that's not atypical. We are grateful that we received a recommendation for a budget that is above maintenance of effort. I have colleagues who have to work through budgets that are maintenance of effort, and that's extremely difficult. So I understand the position that the county executive is in, and I also understand that the county government has hundreds of positions that are grant funded. And so there are recommendations to make sure that they are doing things that are fiscally prudent. But what I can say to everyone unequivocally is if we received $15 million of cuts effective July 1, I would have to take all of the necessary steps prior to July 1 to make sure that the budget reflected that. And so when more than 80% of the budget is in people, we would be further impacting the number of employees in the school system, which really would be the complete opposite of what we're trying to do with increasing compensation for the workforce. We're trying to honor them. We're trying to increase our ability to recruit and to retain the people that we have. When employees hear that school systems are cutting $15 million worth of employees, which would be between May and July 1st, I don't think that would help us to recruit anyone, nor would it help the people who are a part of our workforce to feel secure and like this is the place that they wanted to commit to. So I think it would be counterproductive to our goals of recruitment and retention. And I think it would be all of the savings that I'm trying to find right now to increase the compensation package, that would all be gone because I would have to address the $15 million worth of cuts.
I understand your point, but I wouldn't describe it as a cut because it's not actually being cut. It would only be cut if the school system didn't follow through with the language that's being proposed. So just for clarification that, but I do understand your point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Patoka. Any others? All right, so at this point, do we still have an amendment? And could someone read it so we're clear on what that is? Mr. Boswick?
We do have a motion and a second, and I'd be happy to.
Are we fine there? But can you either way, can you read the amendment?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So the amendment would read that the sorry, let me just get to it again. So on page 27 of the bill, in lines 41 and 42, that have under the Board of Education heading that are administration general fund appropriation in the amount of $37 million and change, $37,041,378. The amendment offered by Mr. Patoka and seconded would state next to that appropriation number that the council urges the school system to make every effort to fulfill the 3-year compensation agreement such that $15 million of this amount may not be expended until the county council has received by December 31, 2025, a report detailing information related to salaries and wages provided by position, as well as total turnover savings and vacancies experienced by program pertaining to fiscal years 2024 and 2025. This report shall be provided by Baltimore County Public Schools and shall also include projections on salaries, wages, turnover savings, and vacancies for fiscal year 2026.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so should we call the vote on this or do we need any more discussion? No discussion, everybody? I can't see everybody all at once with any hands up. All right, Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please, on the amendment.
Yes, sir. Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Nay.
Mr. Crandall?
No.
I believe the motion fails, Mr. Chairman, 4-3.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Is there anything else we need to vote on?
I don't believe so. I think that was it, unless there's any further discussion.
Any other cuts to be discussed? Okay, I guess that's a wrap for today.
Yes, sir. So that concludes this deliberation.
It looks like Ms. Irwin has her hand up, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Irwin?
I just wanted to express appreciation to my staff because they've put in so much hard work during budget season, and it's just amazing how much work they do and how committed they are to Baltimore County. And I also want to thank everybody in the agencies and the budget office who've been so helpful to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin, and I know we all extend our thank yous to our audit staff that we know is out there doing a lot of this hard work, trying to figure out what is all buried in this, multi-billion-dollar budget.
I just think there's a lot of people who care about the county, and that's my takeaway from all of these discussions.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good day. Certainly
Okay,
enjoyed the
thanks. Bye-bye.
conversation. I know everybody's heart's in the right place.
Thank you, Councilman Jones.
Take care,
you.
everybody.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
okay, thank you.